Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning into News 9 Live. You're watching top stories from our studios here in the National Capital Region. A special broadcast nonetheless. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague Brijesh Pandey. And essentially, over the course of the next 20 minutes, we're going to be discussing about why Ladakhis are protesting in the national capital and that acrimonious scene that played out on the streets of the national capital where citizens from Ladakh, they were stopped at the Singhu border, they were detained in the night, they were released, detained again. And at the center of it all was one man with great social currency, of course, activist, scientist, renowned activist rather, Sonam Wangchuk. Well, we're receiving information that after about 40 plus hours, ladies and gentlemen, climate activist Sonam Wangchuk and other 150 Ladakhis were released this evening by the Delhi police. Sonam Wangchuk and the protesters, they're being taken by the police to the Rajghat, as you can see on your screens, to pay tribute to Mahatma Gandhi, which was their plan right from the onset. Now, Wangchuk was being held at the Bhavana police station, from where you can see these cars and the entire convoy of sorts leaving at this point in time, with a few others. Not all of the 150 spent the night at Bhavana, whilst other protesters were detained at stations in Narela industrial area, Alipur and Khanjawala, various other places. Now, Sonam Wangchuk and his group, they were detained Monday night at the Singhu border for violating prohibitory orders while attempting to enter Delhi to press for their demands. Now, what has happened is that in Leh and Ladakh, bandhs have been called. The Kargil Association called out for those massive protests. Monks, citizens alike, everybody on the streets protesting the detention of Sonam Wangchuk. To speak more on this, joining us on the broadcast is, of course, Mohammad Hanifa, Member of Parliament from Ladakh. Very warm welcome on the broadcast to you. Sir, very quickly, you know, we're getting these visuals, and moments from now, I think the Sonam Wangchuk and other activists, they're going to be in Rajghat, you know, which was their plan right from the outset. How are you looking at the developments that have taken place over the last 40 hours? Many are calling it high-handedness by, you know, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Delhi police. Many are also calling it, you know, not justified. How are you looking at the actions of the Delhi police?
जैसे कि हम सब जानते हैं कि पिछले दो दिन से जो पद यात्रा पे चले थे, सोनम वांगचुक की क़यादत में सबको डिटेन किए हुए थे। आज दिन भर जो है हमारे लीडरशिप और होम के लोगों के साथ हमारी बातचीत चल रही थी दिन भर। तो आखिर में उनके साथ नेगोशिएशन हुई है और उस नेगोशिएशन के हिसाब से इसको रिलीज करने का ये था। तो अभी रिलीज किया है। सोनम वांगचुक जी और उनके बाकी जो लोग हैं वो उतरे हुए हैं, राजघाट पे पहुंचने वाली है। जो पिछले 3-4 सालों से हम लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं लद्दाख के इश्यूज को लेके, लद्दाख के कुछ 4 पॉइंट एजेंडे को लेके, उस चीज पे एक तो राजघाट से यहाँ पे हम लोग एक मजबूत मेमोरेंडम जो है होम से उनका एक ज्वाइंट सेक्रेटरी यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं, उनको सौंपेंगे। होम मिनिस्टर के साहब के नाम पे हमने एक मेमोरेंडम उनको सौंप दी है। उसके अलावा होम से हमें ये इंश्योरेंस मिली है कि आने वाले दिनों में सोनम वांगचुक और कुछ लीडरों के साथ जो है होम मिनिस्ट्री या प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब या होम मिनिस्टर साहब में से किसी एक के साथ मीटिंग फिक्स करेंगे और आने वाले कम से कम 15-20 दिनों के अंदर जो है जो बातचीत का सिलसिला जो रुकी थी लद्दाख के इश्यूज को लेके उस बातचीत के सिलसिले को शुरू करेंगे। ये इंश्योरेंस उनसे मिली और उससे जो है हम एग्री हुए और आज सबको रिलीज करके राजघाट पे लाया जा रहा है। राजघाट पे हम लोग इसका कंक्लूजन करने जा रहे हैं।
राजघाट पे एग्जैक्टली क्या होगा हनीफा साहब, क्या आप थोड़ी सी और पिक्चर क्लियर कर पाएंगे? राजघाट पे इस समय क्या प्लान्स हैं? एंड साइमल्टेनियसली हनीफा साहब ये भी बताइए, दुकानें बंद हो जाने की तस्वीरें ले लद्दाख से आ रही है, प्रोटेस्ट ले लद्दाख में हो रहे हैं, इस समय वहां की सिचुएशन क्या है और राजघाट पे अभी क्या होने जा रहा है?
देखिए, कल रात जब से ये डिटेंशन हुई लोगों की, तब से लद्दाख में चाहे लेह में या करगिल में दोनों जगह जो है वो अवाम इसके खिलाफ जो है प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं। कल आपको पता है करगिल में और लेह में पूरी तरह से जो है स्टार्ट पे था, दुकानें बंद थी, गाड़ियां बंद थी। आज भी लेह में बिल्कुल चक्का जाम वहां पे हड़ताल थे, करगिल में प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे थे और अभी जाके जब लोगों को रिलीज किया गया है और होम के साथ होम के जो ऑफिसर्स थे उनके साथ हमारी बातचीत हुई, उसके बाद हमने लद्दाख में भी हमने ये मैसेज भेजा है कि जो चीजें इनके साथ हुई है वो सारे चीजें। और अभी राजघाट पे हम लोग एक मेमोरेंडम जो होम के ज्वाइंट सेक्रेटरी साहब यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं उनके हाथ सौंपेंगे और मेमोरेंडम जो है हमारे ऑनरेबल होम मिनिस्टर साहब के नाम पे है। और इसके अलावा उन्होंने हमें ये एश्योर किया है कि आने वाले दिनों में प्राइम मिनिस्टर या होम मिनिस्टर साहब के साथ हमारी मीटिंग कराएंगे और जो बातचीत का सिलसिला जो मैं पिछले कुछ दिनों से आप लोगों को बोल रहा है, आने वाले 15-20 दिन के अंदर उसको भी रिस्टोर करेंगे।
All right, Hanifa Saab, before we let you go, one final question. You know, in terms of people who are not privy to the issues on the ground, क्या उन लोगों के लिए आप बता सकते हैं कि actual demands क्या हैं? We know sixth schedule is one of them. The ecology of Ladakh is one of them. What are some main demands?
4 पॉइंट एजेंडे पे हम लोग पिछले 3 साल से एहतजाज कर रहे हैं। 4 पॉइंट में हमने डिमांड की है, हमको फुल फ्लेज स्टेट चाहिए, वहाँ पे लोकतंत्र अभी खत्म है, तो जो जमहूरी निज़ाम है उसकी बहाली, 6 शेड्यूल के अंदर हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल सेफगार्ड की हम डिमांड कर रही है। लद्दाखी यूथ आज परेशान है, वहाँ पे पिछले 5 साल में कोई गेजेटेड रिक्रूटमेंट नहीं हुई है, वहाँ पे पीएचडी खत्म है। हमारे लद्दाख के लिए अलग कार्टर और पीएचडी के हम डिमांड कर रहा है। और चौथा पॉइंट, लद्दाख क्योंकि इस देश का सबसे बड़ा कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी है, तो वहाँ पे पार्लियामेंट्री 2 कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी बनाया जाए। ये 4 डिमांड को लेके और हमारे इन्वायरमेंट और हमारे कल्चर के जो सेफगार्ड के लिए हम 6 शेड्यूल के अंदर जो डिमांड कर रहे हैं, इनको लेके पिछले 3 साल से हम लोग एहतजाज कर रहे हैं। गवर्नमेंट के साथ बातचीत भी चली, लेकिन कहीं अभी तक नतीजे पे नहीं पहुंची। तो हम चाहते थे कि लेह से जो यात्रा शुरू हुई, हम चाहते थे कि इस देश की राजधानी पहुंचेंगे और हमारे गवर्नमेंट, हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर, होम मिनिस्टर के नजरसानी जो है हमारे जो
हनीफा साहब, अब आने वाला पड़ाव आपको होपफुल नजर आ रहा है? पिछले 40 घंटे में जो कुछ हुआ, आपने कहा एक मीटिंग भी स्लेट कर दी गई है, मेमोरेंडम भी ऑनरेबल होम मिनिस्टर के सामने, आपको लग रहा है आने वाला पड़ाव होपफुल है?
देखिए, हमें इंश्योरेंस मिली है होम के ऑफिसर की तरफ से और हम उम्मीद करते हैं अगर होती है, अगर नहीं होती है तो ये जो एहतजाज है, जो इससे भी लद्दाख के अवाम जो है वो फिर से एहतजाज करेंगे, फिर से रोड पे निकलेंगे।
All right then, Member of Parliament Mohammad Hanifa, many thanks sir for joining with us and helping us out with the latest insights. Of course, as you can see on your screens, that convoy, because Sonam Wangchuk along with others that were detained at Bhavana police station, they've been released. They're all on their way to Rajghat, and this march that was organized by the Leh Apex body and the Kargil Democratic Alliance was aimed to advocate for Ladakh's inclusion in the 6th schedule that the Member of Parliament was just talking about. Of course, a Public Service Commission for Ladakh, a separate Lok Sabha seat for Leh and Kargil. It also sought to raise awareness about climate change, particularly its impact on the Himalayas and the Ladakh region. Their detentions have led to unrest in Ladakh. We earlier showcased those visuals as well, sparking widespread anger. Local leaders condemned the police action and protests erupted across the region. Listen in to some of those reactions. These reactions came in just moments before Wangchuk was actually released from the Bhavana police station. Take a listen.
मैं लेह से मिलने के लिए आया हूं उनसे। जो हमारा ये यात्रा जो चल रहा था, जो 1 सितंबर को स्टार्ट हुआ, आज गांधी जयंती के अवसर पर हमें ये राजघाट पर हमें इकट्ठे होना था। तो आपको मालूम है, तो किस्सा सबके सामने है। तो ये एक जो घटनाक्रम जो दिल्ली प्रशासन और केंद्र सरकार ने जो किया, हम उसकी कड़ी निंदा करते हैं। ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था। हमारे लोग पीसफुल तरीके से एक संदेश लेकर आ रहे थे। लद्दाख के लोगों की आवाज़ को सुननी चाहिए, जो लद्दाख की कुछ मांगे हैं, और पर्यावरण के संरक्षण के बारे में जो एक आवाज़ को लेकर चल रहे थे। 1000 किलोमीटर पैदल चलना आसान बात नहीं है लद्दाख की ऊंची पहाड़ों से।
बात हुई हो आपकी?
हाँ, मैं फ़ोन पे हमारा गुफ्तगू हुआ, फ़ोन पे बातचीत हुआ 1-2 जगह से, क्योंकि काल शाम को उन्होंने फ़ोन भी उनसे छीना गया। तो देर रात को उनको फ़ोन वापस की गई और शायद रात को उनको बाहर निकाला।
उनसे बात हुई फ़ोन पे?
फ़ोन पे यहाँ से बात नहीं हुआ किसी से। 1-2 जगह तिक्री बॉर्डर पे कई पुलिस स्टेशन है, वहाँ पर हमारे कुछ दोस्त बैठे हैं, तो उनसे मेरा बात हुआ। तो हमने उनकी जानकारी जानने की कोशिश की, उनको खाने पीने के सुविधा के बारे में, सोने के बारे में। तो उन्होंने कहा कि मतलब एक मिनिमल जो एक है, तो उनको वहाँ मुहैया किया जा रहा है। तो मिल नहीं पा रहे सर किसी से हम।
ये सारा जो है एक थोड़ा सा अनफॉर्चुनेट रहा, जो हमारे पदयात्री को जो है दिल्ली में डिटेन किया गया, लेकिन वो एक प्रिवेंटिव मेजर था जिस हिसाब से हमें बताया गया, और जिस हिसाब से एक दिल्ली पुलिस का एक ऑर्डर भी था, क्योंकि 2 अक्टूबर को जो है राजघाट में जो है बहुत सारे VVIPs इंक्लूडिंग ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर का विजिट रहता है, तो जाहिर सी बात है वहाँ पे सिक्योरिटी ब्रिज तो नहीं किया जा सकता। तो एक प्रिवेंटिव मेजर के तौर पे जो है शायद इस तरह का जो है प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन किया गया है। लेकिन हमारा यही कहना है, दिल्ली पुलिस के जो कल हमने चिट्ठी लिखा था, हमने बातचीत भी किया हमारा, कि उनको जितना जल्द हो सकते हैं उनको जो भी उनके डेजिग्नेटेड एरिया जहाँ पे बैठने के लिए इनका प्ले जो है पहले से ही जो है प्री बुक था, वहाँ पे इनको जाने देना चाहिए करके। और उसके बाद से जो है आज तक जो है, आज सुबह तक जो है हमारा काफ़ी सारे जो है वहाँ दिल्ली में जो है बातचीत का सिलसिला हुआ है। और हमें पूरा उम्मीद है एक अच्छा सा एक ब्रेक थ्रू भी हो रहा है, और जल्द ही जल्द एक पॉजिटिव जो है एक इसका जो है आउटकम निकलेगा।
Well, it seems like things are looking hopeful now that Wangchuk has been released. They're on their way to Rajghat, but a two-day bandh pretty much brought Ladakh to a standstill, with shops and businesses completely shut down. Protests continue in various districts, and a heavy police presence has been deployed to maintain order over there. Now, additionally, around 24 protesters set up makeshift blockades on National Highway 1 near Phiang, causing disruption. These blockades have trapped tourists, including some from abroad as well. While the situation remains tense, it is currently calm at the moment, all because, well, Sonam Wangchuk has been released from the Bhavana jail. Now, Brijesh, first and foremost, we also have with us Bhat Musaddiq Riaz, youth and peace activist from Ladakh. He's also with us. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Do stay on with us. Brijesh, very quickly, you know, I've asked the Member of Parliament the same question. I'm going to ask you the same question as well. Security concerns vis-a-vis the detention, was it justified or not? The scenes that we've seen playing out in the national capital over the last 40 plus hours.
If you ask me, I'm completely baffled as to why was the detention done. And what changed in 48 hours? I mean, this was completely avoidable. The situation in Ladakh would have been completely normal. The situation in Delhi would have been completely normal. Nobody has indulged in act of vandalism. You may have, you may have gone there and spoken to them saying that we are getting some people from MHA, they might speak to you, or some higher official who will speak to you. And we will, the same kind of assurances which has been given just now, as the Member of Parliament was telling us that there was a dialogue between Sonam Wangchuk and others. This could have been done on the day itself, or this could have been done yesterday. What was the need for them to be detained? What was the need for them, so that the situation in Ladakh, because this issue is finding a great degree of resonance. And I think, Delhi is one area which is always will be high security zone. But does that stop political parties from staging protest in Delhi? No, it does not. We see all kind of views of political parties staging all kind of protests and getting away with it. But somebody who's coming out and, if they want to go to Rajghat, to pay obeisance to father of the nation, I don't see anything wrong in it. I mean, I can understand the apprehension if the number is very large, like, 3,000-4,000, 10,000 people are coming, right, then there's a legit security fear. With 150, 200 people coming, I don't see it as a big security concern. And the thing which has been done today could have easily been done tomorrow, and they all could have bring to a proper rapprochement. This incident left a bitter taste, the way the entire situation was handled.
All right, let's cut across to Bhat Musaddiq Riaz, youth and peace activist, joining us from Ladakh. Mr. Riaz, how are you looking at the latest developments? First and foremost, the protest and the bandhs that were called across Ladakh. What do you think is going to now change now that Sonam Wangchuk has been released? He's on his way to Rajghat. How are you looking at these latest developments that we're bringing to our viewers?
First of all, greetings of peace to everyone. So, I will start with this thing: what was the cause of arresting the people? People should have welcomed. People of Delhi should have welcomed the Ladakhis who are protesting, who were registering the protesting in a very peaceful way. But in spite of welcoming, because they have passes the high 5 passes, इन लोगों को डिमोरलाइज किया बहुत तरीकों से. अगर हम देखें, सोनम वांगचुक के साथ साथ खाली सोनम वांगचुक जो एक एनवायरमेंटल एक्टिविस्ट, उसके साथ साथ जो लोकल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं, उन्होंने भी इस प्रोटेस्ट में ज्वाइन किया. अब ये चीज़ है कि लद्दाख की अगर हम बात करें, लद्दाख के पीपल को हमेशा डिसीव किया गया. मतलब अगर हम JNK की बात करें, कश्मीरी लोगों को 30 साल लगे डेमोक्रेसी में पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए. लेकिन अगर हम पॉलिटिकली देखें, इनके वोट्स और इनके मैंडेट को हमेशा उस तरीके से उनको फ़ायदा नहीं मिला. आज लद्दाखी लोग, अगर लोग अपने घर से बाहर आ रहे हैं अपनी आवाज़ के लिए, सो हम एक डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री में रहते हैं, एक सॉवरन कंट्री में रहते हैं. सो गवर्नमेंट को चाहिए कि उनको सपोर्ट देना चाहिए. बाकी आज गांधी जयंती के दिन भी चलते हैं, सत्य, अहिंसा और शांति जो उनकी मैसेज थी, उसका मुझे लगता है कि इस दिन शोकेस करना चाहिए. सो आई फील लाइक कि जैसे गवर्नमेंट ने इनके साथ टॉक्स करना बंद किया है, इनकी हाँ, इनके जो काफी ज्यादा डिमांड्स है काफी सालों से, उनको सुनना चाहिए। अगर हम देखें कि लद्दाख ऐसा यूनियन टेरिटरी है जिनको हमेशा वोट बैंक के लिए यूज किया गया। मैं समझता हूं कि जिस तरीके से इन्होंने पीसफुली कोई इंटरनेशनल तरीका इन्होंने नहीं अपनाया, मुझे चाहे कि इनकी वॉइसेस को हर्ट करना चाहिए। दे डिजर्व अ चांस फॉर द पेशेंट हियरिंग। सो यस।
ऑलराइट। 6 शेड्यूल का बार बार जिक्र होता है, जितनी बारी भी आप लद्दाख की बात करें, लद्दाख के प्रोटेस्ट की बात करें, 6 शेड्यूल का बार बार जिक्र होता है। 6 शेड्यूल के आ जाने से या 6 शेड्यूल में लद्दाख को इंक्लूड कर लेने से अचानक से कैसे तस्वीर बदल जाएगी? व्हाट इज इमीडिएटली गोइंग टू हैपन दैट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प आउट द पीपल ऑफ लद्दाख?
सर, जैसे हम लद्दाख के लोगों की बात करें, लद्दाख में ऐसी कोई इंस्टीट्यूशंस नहीं है ताकि लद्दाख के लोगों को मामूली सी डिग्री, नर्सिंग डिग्री के लिए बाहर जाना पड़ता था। उनके पास ऐसी कोई लॉज नहीं है, ऐसी कोई चीज़ें नहीं है। सर, एक्चुअली आई एम फ्रॉम जम्मू एंड कश्मीर। सो मेरे साथ बहुत ज़्यादा लद्दाखी स्टूडेंट्स पढ़ते थे। मामूली सी डिग्री हासिल करने के लिए उनको जम्मू या कश्मीर आना पड़ता था। लेकिन जिस तरीके से उनको मैंडेट, जिस तरीके से वो अपने कंट्री को एक मैंडेट देते थे अपने इलेक्शन से, उस तरीके से उनको बेनिफिट्स नहीं मिलते थे। मुझे लगता है कि ये जो चीज़ें हैं, ये जो लद्दाखियों की डिमांड्स है, ये एक जेन्युइन डिमांड्स है। एंड गवर्नमेंट को इन चीज़ों को फुलफिल करना चाहिए। बिकॉज जब भी हमारी कंट्री को किसी चीज़ की नीड पड़ी, क्योंकि हमारा जो लद्दाख है ये एक बॉर्डर एरिया पे रहता है, उन्होंने अपनी रेजिलियंस दिखाई, अपनी स्ट्रेंथ दिखाई, अपनी सॉलिडेरिटी दिखाई देश के साथ। सो आज देश को चाहिए कि जो लद्दाख के इश्यूज है, लद्दाख की जो ग्रीवेंसेस है, उनके साथ शाना बशाना साथ रहे।
All right. You know what, Brijesh? I did want to, echo along the point of what Mr. Riaz here was talking, but then I suddenly looked at this picture. If you could cut to this camera over here and show this picture to the viewers as well. That man on the screens, I mean, Sonam Wangchuk, he has got massive social currency. He's a credible figure. Take a look at his videos during the COVID times, and he came out with all these remedies. He became a household name of sorts. I mean, when you're looking at security concerns, be it the border point in Ladakh, be it his protest, his march that he carried out into the national capital, I mean, that man has some sort of weightage now, doesn't it? Can this become an embarrassing situation for, let's say, the Delhi police in the national capital?
Well, I mean, it is an embarrassing situation for all of us. I wouldn't single out the police, because police is only carrying out the orders which have come from above. See, the fact of the matter is that, it has already become a political issue. Aam Aadmi Party is alleging that the Delhi Chief Minister was not allowed to go there. Rahul Gandhi has posted on X saying that it's shameful that those peaceful protesters were being detained. Sonam Wangchuk is not a bad character. When I say bad character, I mean he's not wanted under any law. He's not a criminal. I mean, he's coming there, 150 people. There must be 100 of ways to deal with this situation. I mean, I see political parties, all these, chutput local netas holding states and gullies and areas to ransom. Compared to them, if they would have come to, the police could have escorted them and, brought them the way they have brought them, right, from the Bawana jail to the Rajghat, and, they made them sit there, do their protest, somebody come, talk to them, and they can go back peacefully. There was no point for them to indulge into this kind of detention. Detention for more than 40 plus hours for what? Everybody has a demand. I'm not saying that that you agree with 100% with whatever one body is saying, but you can always give a sympathetic look. But the fact of the matter is that that he was detained, and it led to a cascading effect there on Ladakh. Remember, Ladakh is a border area. It's not a some nooks and corners of India. It's a border. Right. It's a very critical area per se. And this, with foreign tourists coming in, the nakas, jam and all, it was a completely avoidable situation. What has been done today could have been done on the night when Sonam Wangchuk walked in through
you spoke about the border areas, and we're running out of time because we need to go into a commercial break as well, Brijesh. But, I mean, if you could just quickly throw some light on this as well. Border area means security concerns vis-a-vis local administration governing the locals over there. What is that kind of a balance that could be struck in Ladakh? Is that a possibility? Is there some sort of weightage?
Well, national security is non-negotiable. So, irrespective of who we are and who that person is. So, nobody is saying that, that there's going to be a dilution of any kind of, national security, or there should be some tinkering of the military apparatus which is there. Nobody is demanding that. But yes, I mean, internal functioning of, how your municipal works or how other things work, they can be granted a greater degree of autonomy. I'm saying that even if you don't agree, there can be talks held over it. Before you summarily dismiss it. But detaining somebody who's doing a peaceful yatra from Leh to Delhi and to protest at Rajghat or pay his respect to Rajghat, I don't think that this is the way to go ahead or to go forward.
Well, it seems like the train has certainly moved, ladies and gentlemen. He has been released from the Bhavana, prison, the Bhavana Thana police station, and we'll have to wait and watch as to what happens. But it is certainly interesting because that memorandum has been placed in front of the Honorable Home Minister, and a meeting has also been slated to take place. We'll have to wait and find out as to what happens. On that note, Bhatt Musaddiq, Riaz, many thanks for joining with us. We're going to slip into a quick commercial break here. On the other side, several factors from Manipur that need some sort of discussion and decoding. We'll tell you all about it. Stick around.
This is News 9 Live, India's only digital exclusive live stream. For the early adopters, bringing you the news 24/7. For the smart audiences on the smartest TVs. News 9 Live. Stream now on your smart TVs. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Many thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. We're going to shift our focus to the hill state of Manipur. Complete unrest over there, of course, and now hostage crisis that has led to bandh and acrimonious scenes on the streets. Chief Minister of Manipur, N. Biren Singh, on Wednesday, he urged all communities to engage in political dialogue to address the ongoing crisis in the state of Manipur. Speaking on the occasion of Gandhi Jayanti and National Cleanliness Day that is observed in the country today, Biren Singh encouraged everyone to embrace the values of truth, non-violence and cleanliness, emphasizing the need to make Manipur a cleaner state. But addressing the hostage situation, Biren Singh assured that the government is working diligently to rescue the two Meitei youths held captive, expressing confidence that these efforts will soon lead to their safe return. Without further ado, without moving on further, let's quickly first listen in to the Chief Minister of Manipur.
Mahatma Gandhi, father of the nation, Prithivida ahimsa gi adugumba wakhalon chamadi adugumba thaba hongdomba bapusi gi ngasi apong numit sidai aduga National Cleanliness Day haibadi ekagi Swasth Bharat Divas hainasu indeed no batunga numit sida Mahatma Gandhi ji ne pamjaramba ahimsa loinana lubananba Bharat Pumba or koi state Manipur Pumba luna nana thamba loinana miyo begi koi wakal dasu yam clean doiba wakalon neat and clean madugumagi message ma pithibigi mayam da piba lebak mayam da piba sida aina sunga si ministra moina Manipur gi mayam da numit sida mayam punamak ekoi daitum masama da orsu amot akai sentok ba yawi re herga lamdam sibu luna nana thamna ba koi hona minasi loina na koi ahingsa da thajasi non violence adu laidba issues tawri ba punamak politically wari batai sanarga loishana ba hona ba violence honda ba adu ya maruina koi ai gi wakhal da yamna laibak sigi da mukta state sigi da mukta miyam gi da mukta ka thokpa ma loina na yamna neat and clean thamoi sengna hona ba do adu oi minasi haiba wafam sei mayam da pause loina ai pijeri kanna honari dum mai pakane na thajibulai.
Sir, could you please repeat your message in
today is the National Cleanliness Day, the birthday of the great father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji. And I appeal to the people of the state to make the state clean and clean. So we should involve personally.
Well, needless to say, normal life was affected in the 5 Imphal Valley districts in Manipur on Wednesday due to a shutdown called by the Meitei Group Joint Action Committee over the kidnapping of the 2 youths. Shops and other commercial establishments remained closed and vehicles remained off the roads as demonstrators blocked the streets in Imphal East, Imphal West, Bishnupur, Kakching and Thobal districts. In Thobal, women blocked the NH 102 at Mela Ground. The women also demonstrated in the middle of the road whilst young men burnt tires to prevent movement of vehicles. The Joint Action Committee, the JAC, that organized the shutdown has said that the agitation will continue till the abducted Meitei youths are released. Manipur MP Bimola Koijam spoke on a number of issues on Manipur. Of course, the hostage crisis is a part of that. Let's listen in to what the Manipur Member of Parliament had to say.
The controversial that Anglo-Kuki war gate. This is the army chief was saying, I was listening, he said something, it started with that rumor. Okay, that's his understanding, it's perfectly okay. He said that I have gone to the ground and it's not burned. But he doesn't, it's a rumor, it's not a rumor. It was part of a propaganda already scripted. Why do I say this? Within 48 hours, the first article on Manipur crisis appeared in a national paper, I will not name it, written by a Kuki intellectual. And he said, destruction of Anglo-Kuki war. It's not a rumor. Rumor can happen there and the violence happened already. On the 6th, it came in the print in Delhi edition of that national paper. This first article, to the best of my knowledge. And he said, destruction of Anglo-Kuki war led to this retaliatory, this spread like wildfire. If it is rumor, then why would an intellectual write and continuously harp on that in many of the other television interviews for months? It's not a rumor. That's a part of a disinformation campaign that is at the root of the violence. So who burned it and what makes those armed men join those mob? Then later on, looting of arms. All these things we have been twisting images. If anybody claims Gandhi as the guy who has led us to the path of truth and non-violence, must be asking this question. If it is a rumor, why it was continuously being harped upon on national media by the Kuki politicians and intellectuals as one of the reasons for the violence, to justify the burning down of houses and attack. thing that has happened in the recent, on 27, is that in the violence, people have killed in custody. I've said it. There are terrible images have appeared. Now people are still talking it, tumhara bhi hua, ye hua. But I said, it's a stage. Now you're asking for swapping off things through our hostage situation. How are you going to justify this? And I've been saying that, do you think that there was nobody died from Meiteis? Nobody died from Kukis? Nobody has committed violence from the Meitei side? Do you think that nobody has committed violence from the Kuki side? So you have been paddling on a narrative of one community as a victim and one community as a perpetrator for so many. So the latest thing that has happened, called this hostage crisis, again, please mark my word, this is unprecedented in India. In a communal situation like this, when two groups of citizens, to be clear, fight. Have you ever heard such kind of hostage taking and saying that, demanding on the government to release or ship out so and so? No, you have never heard this. Neither you have seen security agencies working at crossroads. Manipur has truly become the Rwandan crisis for Indian state. And the manner in which our retired security officers and politicians are talking, they are talking like they were member of a banana republic. That is something that we must register. And do you expect that I am elected by my people from my state? And do you expect me to not to feel anything? Not to get anxious, angry, frustrated? These are all emotions. For merely being a citizens to merely become teachers and public intellectual who writes in paper and so on. Now that I have an extra responsibility as a people's representative, member of Indian Parliament, and I have to remind this country that Manipur has shown our potential to become a failed state like Afghanistan, where you can have such a chaotic, irresponsible statement being made, blurted out by officials contradicting each other, and as if all of us are looking as if this is like a Hutus and Tutsis fighting. For India, Meiteis and Kukis have become something like a Hutus and Tutsis, and people seem to having a field day. Whether we are reporting on it, writing on it, talking on it.
Well, joining us on the broadcast, Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, former DG, Assam Rifles. A very warm welcome to you, General. Professor Prasenjit Biswas, Professor of Philosophy, Northeastern Hill University. Always a pleasure to have you with us on the broadcast as well, Professor. But Brijesh, I'm going to first come across to you. You know, Bimol Okoijam's statements and, of course, the security implications. But Biren Singh himself, he's hopeful that the youths are going to be traced down. They are going to be returned back to their homes. But the security implications, because like we have it on the big wall here, there is a bandh in Imphal.
Well, we have been discussing this abduction for quite some time now, and I have never minced word in the sense that this will become a nightmare as far as the state of Manipur is concerned, because abducting youths or holding youths to ransom to make demands, and as the time passes by, the situation will become, we'll see hardening of stand from both sides, and their tit for tat can happen, and that can lead to a security nightmare for the not only the central forces but also for Manipur police. So I think this should be done. There should be reach out by the CSOs or any other way you can reach out to the abductors of those two youth. It should be done as soon as possible. Otherwise, the visuals which you are seeing on the screen, Kabir, is going to be a permanent fixture of Manipur. They are not going to let go of, and God forbid, and I sincerely hope that not a single harm is done to those two abducted youths, because right now the situation is veering towards the fact that if it doesn't happen soon, we might see a fresh spate of violence, which is completely avoidable as far as the Manipur state is concerned.
All right, Professor Prasenjit Biswas, your opinion on the visuals that we have on the screens at this point in time, major national highways that have now been blocked, of course, protests on the streets in Imphal. How are you looking at these developments? And of course, you heard Bimol Okoijam as well. He's saying, how are you going to justify those statements? You're talking about, prisoner swaps. How are you going to justify any of that?
The point here is that every incident of this kind, abduction, is preceded by something unfortunate, and it becomes a kind of a one against the one, or you can say a kind of a 2-into-2 kind of a game where one side responds to the other side. Now this incident that has happened, taking away, snatching away of 2 Kuki arrested persons from the custody of the paramilitary group, that has happened in some part of Imphal Valley, preceding this particular abduction. And there is always this kind of a face-off that has been happening here. So these face-offs can be contained, provided government and security agencies, bring the two sides to table, and a clear naming of who all are in custody, and there should be a reasonable negotiation between both the sides. That's one part, and that's a very technical, hard part of resolving the crisis itself. But the other part is repeated blockage, and if it is going to be indefinite, is going to harm the hill people's supply line, because the road from Imphal to More is the only supply line that goes to Churachandpur district or to Chandal district where Kuki people live. So the non-violent way of raising the voice, has to be seen. It should not be something like blocking the essential supplies. Minus the essential supplies, there could be a protest as well. So there's a strong need of moderation from every side. And anyone, the public representative, public intellectuals, thinkers, concerned people from both sides, security agencies, government, everyone should come together at this moment to find out a healthy, reasonable solution, so that it doesn't turn into all that my friend Bimal says, Hutu versus Tutsi, or swapping one set of prisoners for another set of prisoners and creating a banana-like republic here. No, that's a kind of a little imaginative statement on the part of my friend Professor Koizam, but the situation may tend towards it. I agree to that. So before it goes to that level, so far as the news goes, these 2 abducted persons have not been harmed, and certain demands are put by some Kuki in certain groups. So that needs to be negotiated by the concerned security agency, so that safety and security of both the sides are actually maintained and there is no casualty at this moment. So this is how the matter should be taken up in right urgency and right kind of people.
Professor Biswas, just a quick follow-up. Bimal Koijam also talks about a larger propaganda at play as well. He calls it a disinformation campaign that's on the ground. I mean, how are we looking at all parties, all stakeholders coming onto the table, moderation for talks to happen when there is an alleged disinformation campaign that's already on?
Yes, the disinformation has to be fleshed out. Exactly the point of disinformation. As Professor Koizam pointed out, the burning of the Kuki memorial is a kind of a rumor that was happening at that time. But prior to that was this Kangbai incident. Kangbai market was attacked by a section of some mob that was formed on 3rd of May in 2023. So you have this something or the other preceding a kind of disinformation campaign also, from where information is twisted and a certain other community is blamed through that kind of a misinformation. So you can see here there is a kind of a counterbalancing, countervailing in terms of information and a psychological warfare that has been happening, so that such psychological warfare doesn't happen and people can remain at peace. Certain steps are absolutely needed for psychological healing the wounds of last 1 year and 6-7 months that have gone into the entire state of Manipur. That's the responsibility of the larger public representatives. Assembly can play a role as well. So all these people have to work together, joining hands together. Those of us who want and believe that peace is possible to be restored in Manipur, in spite of all kinds of differences, people can be negotiating certain political issues without attacking, without being violent at each other, without blaming each other. That's perfectly possible in a democracy. So we have to restore the basic democratic spirit once again in Manipur by using our institutions and by bringing people into the institutions, those who are moving away from those institutions. So I think we need to really take these initiatives from government side, from the side of the central government, from the side of the Assam Rifles, from the side of Manipur state administration as well, so that confidence can be restored again. It should not be a strong arm kind of tactic from any side that should go on indefinitely in this manner. And Aam Aadmi, what they will do, they have to express their protest, their resentment, which is a healthy mark, so that the state government and other agencies can take up the matter at the right harness. So therefore, I see the possibility of a negotiation, and let's not miss that possibility by thinking that the string has been completely struck apart.
No, Professor Biswas, that is a pertinent point. There is always the silver lining of the democratic spirit that you were talking about as well. But, you know, just for another perspective, Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, former DG Assam Rifles, also with us. Sorry for keeping you waiting, and many thanks for patiently waiting with us, General. General, you know, very quickly, we do want to talk about how the Congress party has gone against the, you know, the army chief's own statement. But before that, you know, the situation on the ground, the hostage crisis, the bunds that have taken place, how are you looking at, you know, the police deployment, the army deployment, and these bunds vis-a-vis these bunds? How are you looking at the developments?
You see, the issue here is that this entire problem has now persisted for too long, and we, as part of the security apparatus, always remain worried about any such problem if it takes too long and it carries on. It always has then a lot of chance of you know, spinning out of control. In such crises as of now, where the hostages are there is always a communication that is opened up with them, and that's the only way to negotiate as to what do they want and up to what extent the government machinery can go across to meet those demands. So what's kind of a swapping that can be done? In this case, the basic problem in Manipur has been, ever since the problem erupted May last year, that there is always a haze of information. Whatever information that trickles out, nobody owns the responsibility for that information subsequently. There is no credible kind of a government source or a platform which is able to vet out the information for its veracity of authenticity of this information. And therefore, ever since this problem has erupted, there is always large amount of speculation about what is going on, rather than any verified authentic information. Like in this case also, bunds and all have been there all the time. These bunds will affect the bund in the valley, will affect the maintenance of the people who are staying in the hilltops. That has already been covered. The basic issue here is that whenever you want to negotiate with a group which has got some hostages with them and they are coming out with some demands, you have to nominate a proper, credible group which has got the blessings of the government, which can negotiate those demands. In this case, we are not yet aware of, not that we are going to be part of that negotiation, but nobody is aware of as to what are the precise demands, who is negotiating it, at what level it is being taken up, and what is the give and take that has been suggested, because normally in such cases, the demand group opens up the talks, and talks are prolonged, and nearly the people who are kept hostages by the group which has kept them hostages, they are tired out of such negotiations, and finally the negotiation or negotiating group succeeds. In this case, I don't think any such activity is taking place. Now, as far as the security situation on ground is concerned, I was just reading a report and I'm giving my personal opinion on this. In Imphal Valley, the Armed Forces Special Power Act is not applicable. And now also, as it has been extended for another 6 months, I believe, from 1st of October 24.
Right.
The 19 police stations which fall within the Imphal Valley have been excluded from the Armed Forces Special Power Act. That gives me an impression that wherever the Armed Forces Special Power Act is not applied, comparatively that is a safer zone where the state has a writ that runs larger, then the areas where the Armed Forces Special Power Act has been applied. Now, this was the situation for many, many years. This has been the situation that the Imphal never had the Armed Forces Special Power Act for a very long time. But the kind of unprecedented violence that has taken place, I would imagine that if Armed Forces Special Power Act has been applied, then that should have happened across the board in the entire state and not leave out Imphal again. And 19 of those
General
police
Roy,
stations are out.
my apologies to cut you short over here, but I must play out a reaction from the Congress Member of Parliament, Bimal Okoijam. He has thrown some light on AFSPA as well. He speaks about, of course, the police and the army as well, and about the Union Home Minister. Let's listen in to what Okoijam had to say.
That was the beginning of the arm, the first signal. Then the looting and so on happens. Then you see that there was a lull after the first few days of May, 3-4 days. Then there's a rigor with the coordinated attack when the Home Minister was there. He said he will come back and solve it within 15 days. It is almost 17 months. Then you see Assam Rifles confronting with Manipur police. You see 2 retired officials of 2 security organizations speaking against, opposite, almost fitting into a narrative of Meitei versus Kuki, and the rest of us seems to be watching as if this is something like Hutus and Tutsis fighting in a distant land. In this country, this has never happened. If the Constitution, Article 21, gives us that right to life, none of the people in the state, be that Kukis or be that Meiteis, the state has not been able to do it. Isn't it? All the fundamental right in our Constitution start with Article 12 that defines what is a state. Because in our Constitution, all the rights are guaranteed. It's an obligation on the state to defend all those rights. The state has not done that. We are very clear on that. And there are so many other issues associated. We must handle this thing, but first and foremost, this capacity to protect life and property has not done. We talk about AFSPA. Churachampur is under AFSPA. वो AFSPA के बावजूद villages have been wiped out. Khumujambalaika is one example in the heart of the city in Churachampur. Similarly, you have houses being usurped in some of the areas in Imphal, in Imphal district as well. All these things, you allow it under state. So AFSPA is an excuse. I will not name it, I asked the top officials, retired officials, uniform guys, who have so much decoration on their career. And I asked, how is that CRPC 131 allows army to respond, even there is no AFSPA? If public tranquility is going to be in the life and property, it's your conscience. You're supposed to act. So without AFSPA also, if you are a conscientious army and professional army officers, you have responded in and around your area. Much of these foothills are under AFSPA. Was army able to save those villages? Forget Meiteis. Are they able to save those villages, which is under the AFSPA occupied area, areas? They must move out of this binary. If the Indian Armed Forces were doing a peacekeeping job on the UN for 16 months, if this is the record, what would be UN saying?
Well, Professor Biswas, do stay on with us. General Roy, I have a question for you. Of course, the Congress Member of Parliament, Bimal Okoijam, he has spoken on AFSPA. You were just talking about AFSPA as well. He's clearly hinting at the fact that AFSPA is ineffective. I mean, if it is in place in Churachampur, why have entire villages been wiped out? How are you looking at that statement?
You see, I'm not, I do not want to be part of any kind of a political narrative or a political debate. I'm only looking at it from the point of view of security situation, because that is what we have handled for over 4 decades.
Right.
what I am trying to convey is that nothing can guarantee the security more than the people of that area themselves. But fact of the matter is that whatever security situation prevails in a particular area, I am not privy to specific instances that are being spoken of by the member parliament. But all I am saying is that whatever situation prevails in a particular area, it must be shown to be uniformly same for all. In this case, I am trying to be very, very specific that certain areas in Manipur are not covered by that Armed Forces Special Power Act. And those areas also, during all the disturbances which have been happening for a year plus now, they remain in the same way now also. The Armed Forces Special Power Act has not been applied in those areas. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is that the entire state of Manipur, whatever disturbances have taken place, the impression gathered by the people who are a kind of a neutral body like me who is looking at the security situation, that same kind of template has not been applied to the entire state. Now, where it has failed or not succeeded and why it has failed and why not succeeded, whether for the first time, I'm hearing this well over 1 decade of my retirement, that such a situation prevails where the security forces, be it the army or the Assam Rifles, are being accused of for taking sides. I went through those reports. It's very painful that we have always been very neutral in handling of these situations and we do not take any sides. There are acquisitions being made now that the security forces themselves are taking sides. That
you're right, General, and the chorus has been growing. It's not something new. It has been growing for a very long time. I mean, Brijesh, stability. Right, General. To my colleague Brijesh here in the studio, we're looking at stability. Of course, there are floods also taking place in Manipur. You need the local administration for the right kind of stability. But instead, we have bandhs because of the hostage crisis. Now, you have the state machinery, which questions are being raised on. And of course, the fact that the state machinery can't see eye to eye with the central forces. How does that play out in terms of security?
Well, I think, it's a very unique situation. I completely agree with General Roy when he says that, he has not come across this situation. I myself have never come across this situation, because the fact of the matter is that there is an absolute divergence of when it comes to certain issues. Indian Army chief said that no drones were used for bombing, and then it was rebutted by the Congress state president from Manipur. He says that no, it's an incorrect narrative which is being built. The letter saying 900 cookies, and also there are a lot of information and misinformation which is going on. I mean, Bimal Akhoijam was very passionate when he was talking about how the entire situation should have been handled. And how a cohesiveness should have come forward, but unfortunately there is no meeting of minds, if I may use the term, as far as the state administration and the central forces is concerned, and the divergence of what one force think of other is clearly on the ground. If you belong to one ethnicity, you have a clear-cut narrative of who they support and who they distrust. If you belong to other ethnicity, there's a clear-cut this thing in their head that who they support and who they distrust, and it's a very, very unfortunate situation in Manipur.
Right. Professor Biswas, it seems like we're running out of time, but we'll have you take the last say over here. You've heard Bimal Akhoijam, you've heard, the Chief Minister Biren Singh on Gandhi Jayanti talking about, cleansing, and of course, hopeful that the two boys are going to be returned back to their homes. We're talking about stability, we're talking about these bandhs, we're talking about, prisoner swaps, but you rightly pointed out there is silver lining, that these protests show us that there is democratic spirit that is still available and instilled in the people over there. How does one go about it? For somebody who's not from that area and is reading up about Manipur each and every day, I mean, reconciliation is out the window, many would say, but I disagree completely.
Yeah, reconciliation is the only way out. And for reconciling, we have to remove strong arm tactics completely from the ground. There is always a fear in the minds of the Kuki that if Manipur police comes in, then that will have a communal angle. Similarly, except Assam Rifles, no one has proven to be above board there among the security agencies. In the Jiriba Metak also, we have seen certain kind of involvement of some security agencies, while another security agency tried to protect the situation. So there is no coordination at this point of time. That is at the security agency level. At the other level, the civil society bodies have to come together. They must talk across the table. And Professor Akhoijam can also facilitate that kind of a dialogue. apart from other MPs who are available. So all MPs and MLAs have to facilitate a dialogue between the civil society group,
All right.
the path to reconciliation. That is how probably we can resolve this hostage crisis much before the crisis blows into a bigger one. Yeah.
Well, certainly. Let's hope that good sense prevails on the ground. And I know it's easier said than done. We're going to slip into a quick break here. But Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, former DG Assam Rifles, very many thanks for joining with us. Professor Prasenjit Biswas, always a pleasure to be speaking to you. Brijesh, it was lovely speaking to you, a riveting conversation. Top developments continue on the other side. Keep it with News 9 Live, ladies and gentlemen.